And welcome back. So in this part of the lecture, we are going to explain about the usage of C language, how we can use C language to create a software. So before we go and talk about how to create software or application, we would like to talk about some relevant or some related concept here. We call it operating system. So operating system is in a very simple way is the Windows operating system you are using. Windows or Mac operating system or Linux Ubuntu operating system. So the Windows you are working on, we call this one operating system. So the operating system is a large software, is a huge software, and that software main job is to control applications or the software run inside that application, inside that operating system. So that means we have a large operating system or a large software, and that software include inside it the small software, we call them applications like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and other calculators, Chrome browser. All of those softwares are running inside a big software, we call it operating system, or we call it Windows, okay? So the main job of operating system is to organize. It's like a policeman who can organize the traffic. Exactly same operating system. Operating system is a management software which can allow the software, the applications, to use the hardware of your computer, to use the computer CPU or the computer memory, or the computer keyboard, or the computer mouse. So those softwares use these hardware components like the keyboard, the mouse, the memory, the CPU, the monitor. All of those software or the applications that are using the hardware are controlled to use the hardware by the operating system. Without the operating system, it will be a mess. Every software try to access. So imagine we are running, for example, multiple software, and each software want to use the keyboard at the same time. It will be a big mess, and the softwares will not run well. But with the existence of operating system like Windows or like Mac operating system or like Mac OS or like Ubuntu or like Linux, any type of Linux, those operating system will control the usage of the hardware by the software or by the applications. So usually the user who are play with the software, like for example, I'm playing with the PowerPoint now, or I am playing with Microsoft Word. When I am clicking and interact with the software like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or the calculator or the Chrome browser, that user asks the application to do some jobs, and those jobs need the computer hardware. So in this case, the application will ask the operating system, I want to use the keyboard, or I want to use the monitor to show something for the user, or I want to use the mouse to control the user interaction with the software. So in this case, the operating system will create something, we call it system call. So the application makes some system call to the operating system, and the operating system will read what the application wants using this system call. So system call is just request from the application to the operating system, and then the operating system will approve this request and let the application use the hardware. Okay, but the application cannot use the hardware directly. Without the permission of the operating system, like Windows, no way to use the hardware. Okay, so this is what we call it operating system. Now let's go to the steps to use the C language. So the first step to create your software is to define what exactly this software will do. So we need to know what exactly the software. Is this software to do some math calculations like the calculator? Or is it to write some text like Microsoft Word? Is it to present something like PowerPoint? Is it to calculate some money like bank software? So we need to know what exactly the software objectives, okay? So this must be clear. And then also we need to know what are the input for the software. That means what the user will input or insert to the software, and what the software will output. What the software only will output on the screen, or the software will output on the files in the hard disk, or the software will output to the network to send to another computer, or the software will output to the database, for example. Okay, so what are the result of the software, where it will go? These results of the software will go to the screen, or it will go to the files, or it will go somewhere another output device. Okay, so first we need to know what is the main purpose of the software. The second step before we write code in C language is to design the software. So we need to design the interface, for example, how the user will input the data, where is the data should be inserted in the software, what is the text will be inside the software to tell the user insert here please, or put the values here, or and what is the time required for the user to insert the data, and what is the time when we should output. So this kind of designing the software should be done before you write the software, before you are writing the code of the software. Okay, and then after that you will write using the C language. You will write your software after you know what the software objectives, and then you design this software input. What are the input of this software? What is the output of this software? The next step is to start writing the code of the software. Okay, so you write the code of the software in C language, same like this is the example of some software. Maybe you don't know what is this one exactly. Later we will talk about this one in detail. But the third step is to write code, and then after you write the code, you will do something. The code you write, the computer does not understand yet. So this code you write is using some programming language like C language, but that code the computer does not understand. The computer does not understand C language. The computer does not understand Java language. The computer does not understand C++ language, okay? The computer only understands machine language, or we call it native language, okay? So we will see this one later. Now, after we write the code is using the C language, which is easy for us to write because it's high-level language, we will use some software, we call it compiler. So the compiler is a software to convert your code, your C language code, or your Java code, or your C++ code, or any type of language code into executable code. Executable code mean what? It's mean machine code or native language code. Okay, so the machine code is the code the computer can understand. So you might ask, okay, if the computer understand machine code, in this case, why we write in C language? Why we write in C++? We can write to the computer directly using the machine code. The answer for that is machine code is hard to write for a human. Why? Because the machine code are just code like this. It will be like 01000100. This is mean, for example, this one mean print, for example. Okay, and then 110001110001. This one mean, for example, hello. For example, I'm just saying like this example. Okay, so that means if you want to write print hello in the screen, you need to remember this kind of thing, which is very hard for a human. So human cannot remember the instructions or how to tell the computer to do something in machine code. It's very hard. Okay, so in this case we need to write our code using C language, which is high level language, and then we give this high level language to the compiler, and the compiler will generate what? Generate machine code. Okay, it will generate machine code. What is the machine code? 0100011110 and so on. Okay, so it will generate this kind of thing. Okay, and also the compiler, during the compilation step, the compiler will use another software, we call it linker. Okay, so there is something we call it linker. So the linker is another software to link your code, to link your code you wrote in C language with another libraries or another Bible code. Okay, so maybe you are not only using, when you write your C language code, you are not writing your own code only. You can use other people code, we call it libraries. Okay, so libraries are code written by other people and you are using it. Okay, so this is to bring the code of other people. We need something, we call it linker. The linker will link between your code and code of other people, and that linker will link your code with libraries. Okay, so libraries is a code of other people or other programmers. Okay, so that means in this step, before we generate the machine code, we need compiler, and the compiler also use another software, we call it linker. Okay, and then also the main job of the compiler to check you are following the rules of C programming language. If you don't follow the rules, the compiler tell you are writing wrong code. You are writing wrong software. Because if you are not following the rule of the programming language, that means the compiler cannot generate the correct machine code you want to tell the computer. Okay, so you need to write the correct following the rule of the programming language, and if you follow the rules, the compiler will generate the correct machine code. If you don't follow the rules, the compiler will tell you, the compiler will check and tell you there is error. And we will see this kind of errors later if you don't follow the rules. We will see when we start writing some code. The next step is run your software. After the compiler succeed and generate the machine code, that machine code or the executable code, we call it executable code. That executable code we can run now. And we can run this executable code, and that executable code will be exe file. So it will be exe file, machine code file, if you are using Windows. If you are using Mac OS or another operating system, in this case, the machine code will have different extension. Okay, so for example, here, if we open our code blocks, which we maybe already you are familiar with. So in this case, and you create a new project here. So let's create a new project. And then in this project, we say we want only console or black screen software. We chose this one, and then we say okay. And then we say next, I want to write C language code. And then I say next. And then here I will say, for example, lecture 1 project. This is just a project, okay? Say next. And then here say, yes, I want to use this compiler for C language. And then I will make debug part and release part and say finish. Okay, now if you open here, here is your software. This is very simple software. This software use some, we will explain this software in details next, but this software, when you for example execute here, say compile, this one means compile. So when you compile, it will compile and run the software. It will do 2 steps, compile and run. Okay, so when you say compile, and it will say I want to build this software, say yes, it will compile and run the software in the same in the code blocks software, and this software just say hello world. Here is it, hello world. Okay, so you can run your software inside the integrated development environment or inside code block, or we call this IDE, or you can run the software alone. So for example, this software is saved in, for example, in my case, when I created the project first time, for example, when you create a project first time and say okay, and then say next, and say this is C language. You see, this is the location of where is your project. Okay, so I will save the project in this location. Anyway, so if I go to this location, it will see here is the C, here is lecture 1, and if you see the BIN here, this one includes the release, and now the software is here. So this is my software, lecture 1. So the software, I can run this software using the command line. So I can run here, I open the black screen or CMD. This is the CMD. And then I just drag this one and drop here. So I say, I want to execute this one, .exe here. And then say, click, it will tell you hello world. Okay, so this is the software. So I can execute the software inside code blocks, or I can run the software alone from the command line. Okay, so this is what I meant by here. So I say I can run the software from the C editor, like code block. Code block is a C editor, okay? Or we call this one integrated development environment, IDE. So code blocks is just one IDE. Okay, so just because I'm talking about IDE, we can also use another IDE if you don't like code blocks. Another IDE is Visual Studio. So if you are creating a Visual Studio, I really recommend you to use Visual Studio is really nice, and I really recommend you to use Visual Studio Community. It's a free. So this software is to write C language code. And that software, the good thing about Visual Studio is that no need to install the compiler alone and then install code block alone. No, you install Visual Studio, it will install everything. Okay, so it will install for you the compiler, everything, one shot. Okay, so Visual Studio Community, it's a free, just download it and next, and that's it, done. And then after you install Visual Studio Community, be careful, it must be community, okay? There is Visual Studio Professional, and that one is not free. The only free is the Visual Studio Community, and it's more than enough for our course. If you run Visual Studio Community, it will be like this, okay? And I will show you here how to create how to write C language inside Visual Studio. So you will say, create a new project. Here it will be this screen, and then if you will see here, I want console applications. Okay, so here is it, empty or console application. This one include hello world if you want to print hello world, and this one is just empty. Okay, and you will create the C file. So if you want something same like code block has hello world, you see here in this code block we have main C and it has hello world. If you want something similar, in this case, in Visual Studio, you will choose this one. Okay, so I will choose this one and say next, and then I will call this one, for example, where they will save this one. This is where is the will be saved. You can change this one if you want another location for your project, and then you will say this one, for example, lecture 1. I will call this one lecture 1, and then I will say this one create. Okay, so or let's see, we'll go back and okay, so create. Okay, so here let's see. Yeah, so this is the where the project will be something similar to this one. Okay, so when you have it like this one in Visual Studio will generate. This one will generate in C++ project. It will not generate a C language project. Okay, so what is the solution in this case? The solution is very simple. You need to go to the Solution Explorer, this one here, the Solution Explorer. It will be in the side here, okay? Usually on the side here, there are many options on this side and also in this side, okay? So you will find here the project. Here is the project lecture 1, and then you will just right click. This is the unfortunate things about Visual Studio. It does not create a C language project one shot. It will, by default, it will generate C++. But I want C language, so it's just go here and then right click and say property, and then in the property go to the C and C++ tab. You will see this one, and then go to advanced. And in the advanced here, tell I want the compiler to be C language. That's it. Okay, and then say okay. Now your project is a C language. And if you see here, there is error. It will tell you there is error. Why? Because now this code is for C++ and you cannot run. So what will happen here? I will remove this one, delete it, just remove it, and then I will go here and say in the source file, I will just add a new item. A new item means a new file. So I will create a new item, and then I will say here, for example, source.c, okay, and then add. That's it, okay? So this is a C code, and in this one, the C code, I will just write some C code, and then I will run here. Here is to run. The next step is to test and debug your software. So after the operation of the compiler and linkers are working, and then we will start see some examples about C language. So I will stop here for this part of the video, and then I will continue the other topics in the next video.